Man, I'm born in New York, raised in Boston, pretty much based out of Washington, D.C., Haitian immigrant kid. I never thought the phrase, there I was in Beirut, Lebanon, would ever come out of my mouth. But true to form, there I was in Beirut, Lebanon. And that is the point of Try Life On. There's so many things around this planet and earth to do, to experience, to see, to connect with. In July of 2022, I happened to be in Beirut, Lebanon. I started going to Beirut in November of 2019. Since that time, I've been to Beirut maybe 30, 35 times in the last 3.5 years. I have met some extraordinary people who've shown me some extraordinary things. I have plugged into life and planet as intended. And in July of 2022, I happened to be there. It was 6 months after I started coaching people on this whole concept of Try Life On, how to build lifestyle you don't need a vacation from, how to engage and build meaningful relationships with people, a bigger and better currency than even making money, although money certainly plays a role. I was in Beirut and with some amazing people, some people who are very, very close to me. And one of them happens to be in the media industry over there. She's an amazing producer. And she happened to know someone who owns an audio studio, or recording studio, I should say. So we came up with the idea of recording the first episode of the Try Life On podcast in Beirut, and it was dope. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to share the fact that I was in this amazing city somewhere, which by status quo, I should never be there, right? No one in my family has ever experienced that or gone over to the Mideast the way that I do, or Europe or Africa or different parts of the world, or engaged in business activities, been a police officer, a federal agent, traveled to 100 countries. Why am I not sharing this stuff with the rest of the world? If I am helping my coaching students radically change their lifestyle to one they don't need a vacation from, then I can certainly be sharing all the tips and the hacks and the tactics and stuff like that with the rest of you. So that's what I did from Beirut, Lebanon, for about 20 minutes in a recording studio organized by a dear friend of mine in July of 2022. This is the first episode of the Try Life On podcast direct to you from Beirut. I hope to be doing another one here soon or somewhere around the world so you can experience what I'm experiencing, come along for the journey. But for now, sit back, relax, enjoy the first episode of the Try Life On podcast directly from Beirut, Lebanon. So it's been about 6 months, 7 months of coaching and helping people take the extraordinary and make it ordinary. I think that's the thing that I have figured out in my life. Extraordinary doesn't exist anymore. We should be able to do anything. We should be able to try life on. That's the name of the podcast. This is the Try Life On podcast. My name is Maurice Philogene, and I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a Haitian immigrant. I was born in New York, raised in Boston, live in Washington, D.C., but now I split my time in the Mediterranean region, usually floating around Cyprus, Lebanon, Turkey, but anywhere in the Med makes me happy. I am 46 years old. I'm out of the W-2 world. I retired from damn near everything over the past 2 years. I was an IT executive for 25 years. I ended up my military career as a lieutenant colonel and federal agent out of the U.S. Air Force. I'm retired from that now, too. And then, believe it or not, when I was 33, I wanted to try life on, so I became a street cop in the D.C. area, just as a means to give back to my local community in a unique way. I loved it. I missed it. All along that journey, I was involved in real estate. I figured something out. One of the things I figured out about real estate, or anything that spits off what's called passive income, is that if you have more passive income than you have expenses, you are free. What I mean by that is if your passive income is more than your expenses, then you have time. And when you have time, you have the ability to access life and planet as it was intended. I figured that out really, really early. Started doing amazing things across my journey of life, including traveling to 97 countries over 300 times, trying out for the NFL, becoming a street cop, all at the same time. I figured out how to try life on. That is what I do. I try life on. I believe we are supposed to experience life and planet as intended. So I started this podcast, Try Life On, to help people do the same. There are a lot of people out there doing amazing stuff around the world. But then there are people who are stuck executing what society is telling us to do, worried about impressing other people. Nah, we shouldn't do it that way. Titles and salary have really put people in a bind. I think people are looking for excuses to live the way that they want to, and that's what this podcast is all about. So, welcome to the Try Life On podcast. Again, my name is Maurice Philogene. I'm going to tell you one story of how I kind of figured out this process of trying life on. When I was 15 years old, I was growing up in inner city Boston, so I'm a Boston kid. My dad had an exchange student come stay with us at the house. His name was Matthew. He was from Paris. My father is a very smart man, very interested in education, but also exposing his two sons, me and my older brother, to what the world has to offer. So he sent me to Paris the next summer to go hang out with Matthew and his family for the summer. I was just 15. You got to think, coming from inner city Boston, what that might have felt like. I was cool with it though. But as soon as I got there, within 3 days, Matthew's amazing father said, "Hey, Matthew and Maurice," actually my nickname was Rick back in the day. But hey, Matthew and Rick, grab your stuff, throw it in the old 1983 Range Rover, stick shift, and that man proceeded to drive us around France for 30 days. Changed my life. French funerals, French weddings, French castles, French Boy Scouts, French girls, wine, weed, good food, amazing smells, taste. It was unreal. Especially for an inner city kid who all I knew at the time was getting on the T in Boston. That's getting on the train, on the subway. Walking the pavement, getting sneakers, trying to buy clothes, trying to impress girls. It just floored me and changed my life. And it just opened me to the fact that the world has so much to offer, and what else is there out there that I can do to make life feel better. That was 1990. Back then, and I think still today, especially where I come from, everything was about sports. Like the only way I was going to have a good life was if I made it to the NFL or to the NBA or became a rapper or some kind of entertainer. No, I had that feeling in France like, man, life can be really different. The funny thing is, I actually kept a journal and I didn't realize that I was doing it when I was on that trip. I've reread that journal a couple times. It shows a couple of pieces of insights of why at 46 I am the way that I am. That's one of the stories of how I figured out that trying life on is amazing. I was 15 at the time. When I turned 26, I was actually working for an IT consulting firm. I missed football and I wanted to go back and try out for the NFL again. I tried out once for the NFL after I graduated from University of Virginia. Didn't make it. I'm cool with that. But I just missed the game. So in that circumstance, how am I going to try life on again? How am I going to get another shot at the NFL? Well, I just started asking better questions. I told my company I was going to go back to grad school. I had the audacity to go try life on. Play football in grad school. Thought I was going to get another pro tryout, but you start to realize when you're 26 that 19-year-olds can run circles around you. But at least I had the idea to go try it on. It led to a lot of other experiences along the way, man. I tried to open coffee shops. I became club owner, owned restaurants. I just did so much. So I figured out just how to try life on through a couple different mechanisms and tips and tactics that I'm going to share during this podcast. So here's the goal of the podcast. I've had this crazy journey. I'm going to share it. I want to share it. What I started to realize is over the last 25 years, even though I was a federal agent, police officer, IT executive, real estate investor, restaurant owner, and all these things at the same time, I never told anyone. I don't know why I didn't. I think I was just afraid to share, or actually not afraid to share, but I think I just didn't think that there were people out there like me. But actually, there's a lot of people out there who want to do things and don't have the courage to just jump out. That's the purpose of this podcast. I'm coaching people one-on-one right now over the last 6-7 months. The transformations of some of the people that I have worked with based on some of the strategies that I use for my own life has been crazy. They are tapping into life in a way that they never expected. And that's just because I started sharing with them all the things that I figured out when I started going to the library and reading books when I was 22 to get into real estate investing, or asking people how I could get back to the NFL, or asking better questions of my employer, or virtualizing my mail so I could travel around the world for 4 months at a time and not miss a beat. That's all I'm doing in coaching, is sharing, and I want to share it with more people. My mission is to help people try life on more. We're entitled. We're supposed to be on this planet plugging in. We're not here to exist. We're here to thrive. That's the goal of the podcast. This podcast is going to give you tips on how to do it. I'm going to interview people who have done it in their own way. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about plugging into the planet, but money is certainly a tool, and we're going to talk about that too. I started a company. We're at $200 million now, but that's just because I wanted to try on something new. I hope you kind of see where I'm coming from. Everything stems from trying life on, and that is where I am going to spend time on this podcast helping people do just that. Try life on. There's 5 ways that I help people get to that point. They are related to time freedom. I call them the 5 freedoms. Time freedom, geographic freedom, financial freedom, freedom to execute on your purpose. I said I became a police officer when I was 33. Trust me, that was not for the money. And freedom to build meaningful relationships with people who are going to help you move your life forward. You need that freedom. If you're in cube land 13 hours a day, you don't have time to go meet extraordinary people that will help you do extraordinary things. So those are the 5 freedoms, and that's kind of how we push people to try life on, focusing on one or more of those areas. Those are my freedom principles. So we'll go through those 5 things on the podcast. I'll explain to you the ways that I attack each of those areas and how some of the people I've worked with have attacked those areas for themselves. I'm going to give you 2 examples. One, marketing executive out of New York. She's a dear friend of mine. She was stuck, absolutely stuck. You know how the rat race goes, right? Making $250,000 a year, living in Manhattan, $5,000 efficiency apartment because Manhattan is crazy. All right, so she's got the $250,000 a year job, and she's doing the typical thing, chasing titles. It never ends. The goalpost just keeps moving. I'm not mad at corporate. It helped me, but corporate is a strange animal. $250,000 job, $5,000 apartment. She needs the $5,000 apartment to go to the job. She needs a job to pay for the apartment. She was just stuck in a cycle, when all she really wanted to do was travel in Europe. So, based on those 5 freedoms, she quit that corporate job, got a virtual job, went from $250,000 a year to $75,000 a year. Her choice. We're not talking about scarcity, man. We're talking about abundance. But it was her choice to go down to something more simple. She simplified her life. She ended up moving to Portugal, living in a co-working, co-living location in northern Portugal, working 3 or 4 days a week, 5-6 hours a day. And at the end of the day, instead of grinding in New York City, because that's just not what meant anything for her, she opens her glorious door and she explores Portugal. Damn. The smile on this woman's face is infectious. That's how people should feel. If that is what she wants to do to have an extraordinary life, that's what she should be doing. But she needed some methodologies and maybe even some coaching, some excuses to go try life on in that manner, because all society was telling her to do was, nah, you're the marketing executive with the $250,000 salary, living in New York wearing the business suits and everything. She's 10 times happier. She's out there trying life on. I'll give you one more example. A friend of mine, or not a friend of mine, someone that I actually coached. I'll just give her first name. Her name is Nicole. An amazing person. She works in the nonprofit space, $90,000 a year, probably 12 hours a day. Just wasn't giving her the freedom she needed to access the world and the planet, right? Okay, so what we did was she has this amazing knowledge about the nonprofit industry in her mind. So we flipped it. We took that knowledge, pushed her into consulting, leveraged tools like LinkedIn, started posting on what the nonprofit space is about, and started doing consulting work, not for the nonprofit industry, but for the foundations that need to get connected to the nonprofit industries. That's where the money's at. She's not working the 9 to 5 anymore. She runs her own consulting firm. She's making 3 times as much as she was before. She's happy. She has a mobile lifestyle. And yeah, she's a parent with 2 kids, an amazing husband. And those 2 kids are under the age of 6, so they are now a mobile family experiencing life the way that they want to. And she has more time for her kids and family. She's trying life on her way. Anyone can do that. Sometimes we just have to readjust our lifestyle to what it needs to be, such that, and here's the overall goal to trying life on, it's designing your life, right? It's building lifestyle you do not need a vacation from. Why are we taking vacations as if we're trying to escape our lives? It's crazy. We should be building lifestyle we don't need a vacation from, so we never have to escape anything. That is what has happened in my life. I have built a lifestyle I don't need a vacation from in many facets, to include the financial stuff too. If you want to talk finance, we can do that. I started a company, Quattro Capital, with amazing partners. We buy apartment complexes all over the US. We help people with that. So money can be involved, but I am much happier with the fact that that company and the money that I generate from it personally, I use it for philanthropic causes all over the world, to include Lebanon, where I'm recording from Lebanon today. Because I'm here with amazing people that I love dearly, but I'm also trying to do some philanthropy work along the way. I have built a lifestyle I don't need a vacation from, and that is what I want for everyone. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up. It's going to be the Try Life On podcast. I am doing this because I want to help people experience life the way that you need for you. You don't have to run stuff in your life the way the society's telling you to, or your neighbor's telling you to, or TV commercials are telling you to. Sometimes you just have to reorient some things. And there are tips and tactics and tricks and hacks. I'm a travel hacker. I'm always on a plane. And sometimes you just got to change your mindset. For me, the airport is literally a bus stop, and an airplane is literally a bus with wings on it. I don't know why we've elevated the airport to this massive thing we have to go to, so then we never want to go there, or we say, even though it's July, I'll do a trip in October. No, you can do a trip next week if you want. You just have to travel hack your way to it. I can't wait to bring you guests who have done this stuff their own way. I can't wait to bring you stories that I know, not only just for myself, I got a lot of them, but from the people I have talked to who have had the audacity to try life on their way. That is what this podcast is about. You are going to be exposed to a lot of different people, a lot of different stories of what they did. We'll frame around those 5 freedoms: time freedom, financial freedom, geographic freedom, the ability to move around the world. It could be moved down the street, could be moved to the next city. Doesn't mean you got to go far. It just means you should be more mobile. Because weren't we mobile when we were kids, and that's how we were experiencing new things? Geographic freedom, freedom of purpose, and freedom to build meaningful relationships will orient around those things. So hopefully I can get you, to try life on. My name is Maurice Philogene, and I am bringing you a podcast called Try Life On because I want to help you live life your way. I hope you will join me. I will see you on the next segment. Take care. See ya.